War, government crisis, and the struggling economy are all pointing to one thing. The central bankers have more and more excuses to print more and more money, and they actually don't really have a choice. They have to keep on printing more and more money. And we all know what's gonna happen once a massive liquidity wave is hitting the market. Bitcoin is the number one option out there if you want to protect yourself against all the uncertainty out there in the world. Exactly about this uncertainty and what's about to happen next, I will talk today with my guest Clarke. Enjoy. How do you see Bitcoin currently, and how do you kind of see all the development that is going on in the Bitcoin ecosystem?
I've had this conversation lately the last couple of weeks with people, and they're disappointed that Bitcoin didn't do what it was meant to. This cycle wasn't like last cycle. We didn't have a blow off top. And I'm like, what are you worried about? We went sideways for a year. And they're like, yeah, but we didn't have this blow off top. I'm like, isn't that a good thing that we didn't have the blow off top? Like we didn't have that absolute crash down of 86% drawdown that we usually get either. So like, yes, this cycle is fundamentally different. Bitcoin's always different with, I want to say big pharma, but big business, Wall Street coming in to be able to play with it. I think the volatility to the upside and the downside has gone away, and potentially we had a bit of Bitcoin paper summer or paper Bitcoin summer, and it got manipulated. But I kept saying to these same people, all we need to do is have a plan. And for me, that's DCA every 2 weeks for the last 6 and a bit years now. And I don't worry about it. When I see the green going up, I'm like, oh, I'm getting less sats. And when I see the red, I'm like, yes, I'm getting more sats this week. That's absolutely amazing. But overall, whether it's at $65,000 or $50,000 or $100,000, when it goes to $1 million, does it really matter? Like if you got it at 50 or 100,000? Not really. Like, okay, if you bought it at 100,000, it's only a 10x, not a 20x, but it's still a 10x on your net worth, your value. Like, what are you freaking out about? And they're like, yeah, but Wall Street's coming, they're manipulating, they can't do it. You're like, oh, like short term, sure. Wall Street, they can manipulate, they can fuck around and find out, they can do whatever. Sorry, first 3 minutes, you'll need to bleep that swearing. And on YouTube, the algo. But overall, Bitcoin's doing what it's doing. I don't know if it's pumping at the moment as a little bit of a safe haven for people living in Iran or just around the world. They are seeing this is what I said to you before the show. I don't know if this is the last time that we get Bitcoin at this price under $100,000 or it's ready to blast off. Like you, I want the price to go sideways or even down for the next year, 2 years. I'd be more than happy with that. But Bitcoin was made for situations like this. And the situation that's happening is war is fiat intense. War's what keeps that fiat system alive, which keeps it going. The killing and destruction of people, just of the other human race. Maybe they're a different skin color or they have different thoughts or whatever. I'm totally against it. I'm a happy hippie. Loud and proud here. I don't want to see the blowing up and the destruction. It doesn't lead to anything good, but was a very convenient excuse for them to be able to push that money printer. And I don't know if their intentions to go after the resources, they think they're doing the right thing, kicking out a dictator, or they're just getting desperate and they're looking for any excuse to be able to fire up the money printer. It doesn't really matter. The outcome is going to be, if this keeps going on, they're going to have to hit that big red button, which prints a whole lot of money. And then Lawrence Lepard, the big print, his thesis starts to play out, and we never get to see Bitcoin at these prices again. The reason being is when there's more and more dollars, what we saw within COVID is as soon as they started tapping that money printer, what happened with Bitcoin? Went from 20,000 down to 3,500, then it shot up to $69,000. I think it's going to be deja vu very quickly in regards to that if this war keeps on going. So, up 3% over the last 20 hours. If we had a God candle, 10,000 randomly in the next couple of days. I wouldn't be surprised. Bitcoin can only stay held down for so long with its infinite supply, and then it's going to pop up. And I think we've been far too lucky, everyone paying attention for the last 12, 18 months, for it to last much longer. I hope it does, but I think that's what I see going on, is they're getting ready to print and Bitcoin's absolutely going to explode. And if it doesn't, I'm still going to keep buying anyway and get as much as possible into self-custody as quick as possible, because eventually people are going to wake up and realize that they have printed all this money and it needs to go into something scarce. Otherwise, that cost of living that most people in Australia around the world are feeling is going to continue to keep getting worse, simply because they're saving in the worst money.
It's really, that's also, I think, how you should look at it. I think we should look at it as a blessing with the last 1 year, because there's a lot of people that are disappointed. They might have bought at 126K and they thought we're going straight up to like 500,000. And that's not how Bitcoin works. We are in a volatile phase, and there will always be down. Even if we have a hyperinflation situation, you probably seen a chart where gold went up and down when the Weimar Republic went into hyperinflation. We had months where gold was down 30% within the hyperinflation situation, because it was just like very volatile. It was price discovery. It was a massive currency was getting to be hyperinflated. And so I think if we hit not the low inflation, the middle low inflation that we have right now, to like the hyperinflation, because now we have 5, 10, 15%, depending on how you look at the numbers. What if we have 50%? What if we have like 100% inflation? Those then look, there's a lot more scare, a lot more volatility in the market, and you will see Bitcoin go up like 100K in a day, and you will see Bitcoin going down like 50K in a day, and you will be scared. And yeah, that's the game. That's price discovery. That's a normal market. But I think the overall point, which I love from like Lynn Alden and Larry Lepar, like the big print is coming, nothing stops this train. So like the only thing that you can really do is like Bitcoin. And maybe you can make an argument for gold here and there, but for me, it's a fancy rock that doesn't do a lot. So it's not that good for me. But I understand if you have some in gold also. Maybe you have some stocks. I don't do that too much. I like my Bitcoin in self-custody. But I think overall people will be scared more and more, and inflation will becoming a mainstream topic more and more. It already is. But the more the people talk about inflation, I think the more Bitcoin has a chance to come in the focus of mainstream discussions. At least I think so.
Yeah. Going off on a tangent, but just your comment on gold, like I think 100% the same thing, and I agree with you. And last year with our company, we put a lot of Bitcoin on the balance sheet as the treasury reserve. And initially when we were doing this, my wife said, let's put like 40% into gold and 60% into Bitcoin or whatever. I'm like, whatever we need to do so that we can buy Bitcoin, it's all on board. Anyway, I talked out of that, and I'm like, Bitcoin's so cheap, let's just put it on Bitcoin. And then it's sort of done what it's done, sort of up, down, and sideways. So that fiat dollars that we put into Bitcoin, it's about break even. Maybe it's a little bit of a profit or whatever, but it hasn't really done much compared to last cycles or how long we've been into Bitcoin over the last 6 and a bit years. So that's sort of a little bit of a disappointment. She saw this big run in gold or whatever, and she's like, see, we should have done in that. And put it into gold. I'm like, I'm just not interested in buying gold. I don't see any purpose. We've got digital gold, Bitcoin, or whatever, contrary to what Peter Schiff talks about, tokenizing gold and putting that on the blockchain. Anyway, the point I'm getting at is we still hold about 6 months of runway for like or just our general expenses, our wages and everything for our staff. We hold that in fiat. And I hate the fiat system because it backs up war so much. And so I'm thinking with that, I can't necessarily put the runway into Bitcoin just because of the volatility. I need that to be able to sit there. and do it. Anything outside sort of 6 to 12 months, I'm more than happy to stomach the volatility of Bitcoin. So I've been thinking, I don't know, maybe to appease my wife, we can put that cash into gold instead with it. But what do? Like, do you buy the gold ETF and you've got no control over it? But it's about as secure as the bank account is, so it's probably no issue. But I'm thinking, if I'm going to do that, then I want to hold physical gold. And I'm like, hold physical gold and do what with it? Like, leave it around the house, or you know, it just seems so absolutely impractical to be able to do. The only way that gold is useful is in the ETF, but then you've got all that counterparty risk. And we saw BlackRock, was it last week, with their private fund and stuff, stopping people from taking withdrawals out. And I don't know what that was in relation to, but it's like the largest asset manager in the world, their private fund, and they're like, access denied, you can't access your funds. So I struggle with anything. I struggle having cash in the bank. What do I do with it? Because the volatility, I can't necessarily put that into Bitcoin for the next 6 months. And with the gold, I'm just like, it's so useless. And so many people would disagree with me for that. I think it's good if you hold it physically, but to hold physical gold for 6 months, that's so impractical as well. So it's like, all right, I'll stay in this system of war and destruction so that our company can go on for the next 6 months and we can pay wages and everything. But everything else, I just want to extract and remove it from that system. I don't care about the volatility. Like during COVID, I woke up over a 3-day period and my net worth wasn't that much at that stage, but 50% of my net worth just gone, you know, through that time period. And I didn't panic because I'd started to understand. I sort of checked myself and like, oh, is Bitcoin still working? Yeah, all right, let's buy more. And then obviously it ran all the way up to $69,000. So anytime we have these dips, I think that's a good way. I know that was a total tangent, but that's just my thoughts in regards to gold. It just doesn't really make any more sense to me in a digital age, and being someone that spends all day, every day on a computer, it seems so antiquated.
I think, isn't it James Jack that also uses gold as a cash reserve? I think he mentioned that once on the podcast.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
I think it's not a bad strategy. Because like if you have cash in a bank account, as you said, it's kind of the same sovereignty rights that you have to the cash on a bank account, then you have the gold to the IBIT. So if you think about like a cash reserve, it's probably similar. Like you have a similar chance of getting hacked. You have a similar chance of getting rugged. Like, it's a similar process. And physical gold is like it's such a, like, I don't even want to think about that, because like how do I secure it? Like if I have it at home, it's a huge honeypot at home, because like you can see it. Like you're like, yeah, there's like gold there. Like how do you hide it? Like what are you doing with how do you secure gold? Like Bitcoin is so nice because you have so many options with securing it. You have so many things that you can do with your Bitcoin in self-custody that you can actually make it very secure. And people don't even know that it's like here or like there or like wherever it is. And so gold is like, I don't know. Maybe I'm too young for that. Maybe I'm too young for gold, but I don't get it.
I don't knock anyone holding physical gold, but just the solution of like currency to be able to opt out of the banking system, like it's not a solution for, and you definitely can't be mobile with it. Like I don't mean to shit on gold, it's just the internal conflict, as I could buy the gold ETF, but then the fees are still going to like BlackRock, which is one of the most destructive agencies in the world, or companies, corporations in the world. So I don't necessarily want my fees from the ETF to go to them. But then it's the same thing with the banks. I don't want my fees to go to them either. And then I guess in a way you could say that about Bitcoin, because I'm buying from an Australian exchange and they're absolutely amazing. They're charging me a fee. At least it's going to Bitcoiners and it's employing Bitcoiners and they're providing sovereignty. But then they need to pay profits from their business to the tax agency. So like even at the moment, Bitcoin's still propping up the fucking broken system with the tax people. I guess what I'm getting at is I wish we could just live in that age of hyperbitcoinization where we personally, like we already do, we get paid in Bitcoin, we spend in Bitcoin, we just use Bitcoin as a superior form of money. And it's just a total opt-out of the war, the death, the destruction, everything. Like fiat was literally designed to keep people slaves. That's why the founding fathers said no to a central bank originally and pushed back, and they had to push it through like over Christmas Eve or over the Christmas period where they wouldn't get a bit of pushback in that secret meeting at Jekyll Island. I just want it to end. And for the reasons, what's happening in Iran or Afghanistan or anywhere around the world where any of these proxy wars are going on, it's because the money is broken. We've got a better solution. I wish we could just get there quicker and the conversation around price wasn't as important to it, because the conversation on price is only relevant to yourself, myself, anyone in America, like anyone in a first world country. If you're living in a third world country and your currency's just collapsed, you don't care that Bitcoin's up or down 3%, 10%, 50% over a couple of days, weeks, months, or whatever. If you stored your purchasing power in Bitcoin, you're happy as Larry that you've just saved your life and your family lineage by thinking outside the box and putting your life force, your energy into something that can't be fucked with over the long term.
How fast do you think we can actually go there? And how do you think this looks? Because I have still not fully formed an opinion on fiat currencies. I mean, I've formed an opinion that they are really, really bad, evil. But I'm not sure if they ever go away. I have such a hard time believing they're going away or they're not going away, because they have such bad network effects. And I don't know, they might just be able to just have even if Bitcoin is like at $400 trillion and it's like the biggest asset in the world, they might just still have some monopoly on violence. They might just say like, you have to pay your taxes in it, and if you're broke, you get your benefits in like the fiat token and all of that. I'm still on the edge between like, yeah, all fiat currencies are evil and shit, so normally they will go to zero and go away. But they just come up with a new one. Like if you look at Turkey, look at all the Zimbabwe and like Argentina, and they still have the currencies, even though they went, like Argentina is amazing. I think they've went through 20 different currencies in the last like 5 months. I'm exaggerating, but if you look at the history of the last 30 years, they always just spun up new government tokens. So obviously I have my Bitcoin, so I don't even care if I can do just everything in Bitcoin. I think it's fine, but the question is like, can those fiat tokens be around like all the time? Like it's still, I still wonder about that a lot.
I absolutely agree. I just want to bring up a page if I can, sharing it. So this fred.stlouis.org. This is the consumer price index for all urban consumers' purchasing power of the consumer dollar in US since like the 1900s. It's lost 100% of its value over time. This is the US dollar. This is the most powerful, this is the best store of value in the fiat system in the entire world, and it's lost 100% of its value over time. So maybe you can stop that screen sharing. So like, yes, they can go on, and they're not going to want to give up control of them because it's the greatest tool of control over the everyday person as possible. And because they have the proof of weapons network behind them, like in the words of Simon Dixon, like you're saying, they can hold a gun to your head and say, either pay us in this worthless toilet paper and currency that we issue, otherwise we're going to send you to jail. And they'll do that, and they'll push it out. But I guess what we've seen is in other countries, say like Sudan or Iran, for example, people flock to the US dollar. Greece, they'll flock to the US dollar. What happened in Lebanon? Even Tony Yazbek, the founder of the Bitcoin Way, multimillionaire, retired all his dollars in a Lebanese bank account in US dollars so that he wouldn't lose it to hyperinflation. Came in, but the government still came in and took all those or converted them over to the local Lebanese pound or lira, and then hyperinflated that away. So then what Tony did from that situation that's relevant to the conversation is he went onto a Bitcoin standard, he adopted that, and now he's totally out of that system. He doesn't accept cash at all or anything like that. Within my business, I pay my employees, we pay for things in cash. So we've got a little bit of a runway, but more and more and more, the profits, they go into Bitcoin. When I pay myself, like I put any discretionary funds left over into Bitcoin, I give people, I charge them more if they want to pay me in fiat. Like I don't give them a discount for Bitcoin. I give them a penalty for paying in shit money when I issue an invoice in regards to anything on this channel. Most of the time, I will give them a Bitcoin address, and then underneath I said Bitcoin's preferred for payments. If you want to pay in fiat, it's going to be this much extra, and you must request my bank details. So I'm putting things in their way to get them to give me the money that I prefer. And I think that's what we're going to see more and more over time, is people will just opt out more and more and more. And maybe collectively we don't see hyper-Bitcoinization, but I've got butchers, hairdressers, cafes, clothing stores, cigars, like nearly anything that I want to buy, I can pay for in Bitcoin now. And when I go in there and I go to pay for something, and so I just pull out my phone to tap, they're like, oh, you're not paying in Bitcoin this time? I'm like, oh, would you like me to? They're like, yeah, I'd prefer that, you know? So they have started changing and leaning over that way as well. And that's probably how I see it playing out a little bit more naturally, is you're orange pilling your shopkeeper, I'm orange pilling the shopkeeper, and then they go out and they orange pill other people because now they've got a little bit of Bitcoin. And it's just time. Like, it's the greatest money that in recorded human history, like as far as we know, it's the best form of money. But it's only 16 years old. Like there is still a learning curve with it, or 17 years now. There's still a learning curve going on with all of it. So, time.
I have I use Seprite to invoice people, and it's really interesting because you can automatically put a premium on top of fiat. So you can give them the option, like you can pay with Bitcoin, you can pay with fiat things, all the MasterCard shit and all of those, and you can just like automatically put in there the premium, and then you're like, they can click on Bitcoin, they get the QR code, they can pay it, but they can also go to fiat and just pay 10%, 15%, 5% more, which I absolutely love, because then it's like, yeah, it's okay. And it's justified because I operate on a Bitcoin standard, so fiat is kind of a hurdle to me. I have overhead for fiat. I have to pay banks for fiat. I don't like it. Like I would like to just like have everything in Bitcoin and operate in the Bitcoin ecosystem. And then I also have to convert it to Bitcoin and like have to go through all those like hoops. And so I don't want that. Like I don't want the fiat. Yeah. Like I want the Bitcoin directly because I operate on a Bitcoin standard, and so I try to do that, or at least have some kind of nice yield where I've like this people, a group of people pay me in Bitcoin, this group of people pay me in fiat, and hopefully I don't have to convert in each other and can just use the Bitcoin for Bitcoin and fiat for fiat. It's a very, I like to keep it that way. As we talked about fiat currencies, I'm wondering more and more with, you probably have checked it out, this stretch thing and this MSTR thing that's going on. Not checked out at all?
No, I'm 100% Bitcoin and self-custody. Only.
If you live in Europe like I do and want to buy Bitcoin the right way, check out Relai. Relai is a Bitcoin-only platform with no distractions, no shitcoins, just a BTC. It's also the easiest way I've found to do what actually works, buying Bitcoin on a consistent basis. Relai is also self-custodial. They never have the keys to your Bitcoin. No freezing of your assets, no counterparty risk, no rug pulling whatsoever. I have been a long-term fan of Relai, not only because it's incredible easy to use and very beginner friendly, but also because it just works. If you want to get started with Relai today, click the link down in the pinned comment or in the description, and once you have downloaded the app, type in Robin in the referral code section of the app to save 10% on fees. So set up your DCA Bitcoin plan today with the Relai app and get cheaper Bitcoin if you use code Robin. With Microseed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because Microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today. And you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io. Finally, we have BTC Prague back in 2026. And this year, I'm not only speaking on a panel, but I'm actually going to present an interesting new angle, a perspective, a Bitcoin thesis at BTC Prague this year for the first time ever. I've never done that on any other conference, so this will be a fun one. If you listen to this show on a regular basis, I would love to meet you in Prague this year. It's very high signal, no noise, and Prague is just a freaking amazing city with awesome drinks and a lot of good food. Use code Robin to get 10% off, and if you buy with Bitcoin, you get an additional 5% off your ticket price. I'll see you there in Prague. Make sure to come say hi. When I tell people about Stretch, they are so much more intrigued about that than Bitcoin. And I'm like, it's such a stupid thing, because why would you take that? You have none of the sovereignty and you have a limited upside and you have to everything denominated in US dollars and fiat currencies. But it's so intriguing for the normies. It shocks me. And then I was like, okay, maybe that's how Bitcoin scales. Like, I hope not. For me personally, it doesn't matter because I anyways hold Bitcoin on the base layer. So I don't know. Do you think that if we are just, let's say Bitcoin is very widespread and we have only about like 2, 3, 4% that actually hold Bitcoin in self-custody and like have the Bitcoin sovereignty and all of those things, and then like 97% hold some stable coin backed by Bitcoin weird thing that is just paying them a 10% thing, but it's like actually like a US dollar thing, but it's like backed by Bitcoin so they can pay some yield or something like that. Is that a bad thing? Like, is that a thing that could happen? The same as kind of with gold happened?
Yeah, good or bad, I don't really know. I think for like my own person, I wouldn't want to be that person. I want Bitcoin and self-custody. I want to be sovereign. But I guess as a point of reference, 95, 97, 98% of the world's population are sort of already fiat slaves. So there's like the haves and the have-nots, and there's like this economic elite. I believe the big people that have Bitcoin in self-custody will be that new Bitcoin economic elite. And I hope with the principles of proof of work and everything like that, they do good with their wealth and provide value to the world. And there's many millionaires and billionaires out there that fund our charities and philanthropic work and everything like that. But I do think it'll be vastly different, this world that we're moving into. And I think as soon as the next 12 to 36 months, we're going to step into this. Like, it's accelerating already between the haves and the have-nots. Is it a bad thing that the government potentially has a big pot of Bitcoin in the background and the government loans it out to other governments in some way, and they're earning interest on that, and then they can pay people like a universal basic income for a living wage because AI has taken all the jobs and everything like that? I would rather people were taken care of and it was based on sound money, even though they've built a fiat layer on top like they did with gold. The issue with that is we'll see the same thing that happened with gold. We had a store of value, and then they built the fiat system on top, and then they just reduced the store of value. So maybe we go into like this hyperbitcoinization where Bitcoin's the underlying valued asset, but then over time, as they rehypothecate, then that cycle just ends again. So then it would be bad because then we're just ending up in the same situation that we are now. But it may have compounded even more because unlike gold, you can't make more of it, and a particle accelerator, you can't dig more out of the ground. You're not going to get any more from space or the oceans or everything like that. Bitcoin is the first thing that's like 100% finite when it comes to a monetary asset. So if we go into that stage where they're backing things up by Bitcoin, I'd be doing everything possible to find any way to get into self-custody personally for myself. And obviously that's what most Bitcoiners are doing and why we show up every day to encourage people to do that, because it's not hard. But I think once we get to that moment, it's too late. And that's why I keep saying people have 12 to 36 months left. And the reason I say that is because Australia is really pushing like digital IDs, CBDCs. Once we get those two, then they come out with social credit scores. Then everything you say, do online, everywhere is tracked. Everything you buy is tracked. With what's going on with Iran, like fuel price in Australia, absolutely gone through the roof. Diesel's more than $5 a litre in some areas in Australia. It's like usually like $2 or whatever. So that's like 100% inflation in a week, Robin, in Australia, in a first world country. Like hyperinflation is fucking here with petrol. Welcome to Weimar Republic. It's like, it's crazy. But I'll look at I looked at the pump price the other day, obviously, because there's all the posts over X and stuff about it. I was like, okay, like it's still cheaper for me now because I'm not paying in Bitcoin, but I value my life in Bitcoin because I've been saving it for so long. Like every dollar I put away 5 years ago is now worth 20 times more than it is. So the fuel's actually 20 times cheaper today for me than it is for everyone else on a Bitcoin standard.
It's so interesting because I want everyone to adopt Bitcoin, adopt it in self-custody, do this, like obviously. And I've just like tried 6 years for so long, and I've seen very few adopt it. I mean, obviously I have no clue who are orange pilled with the podcast and haven't met. There keep coming people up to me on conferences like, oh, like your podcast orange pilled me and all of those. Like I do self-custody and all of those things. So there's like a hidden amount of people that I'm not aware of. But in my personal circle with friends and stuff, there's a couple of people, I can count them on like two hands, that really took Bitcoin in self-custody, actually took the work and they can care for their own Bitcoin and all of that. There's a bunch of more people that still keep it on exchange, still do all those things. And then just like, okay, like I've talked my ass off. And they still like they still have the euro. Like they still are with a lot of their wealth in a euro savings account where they get nothing as an interest rate, but they still put it there. And I'm like, how are they doing that? And then there are things coming out with 8% interest rates, 10% interest rates backed by Bitcoin. And I'm like, people, like if that is successful, people will eat it up. They will forget about sovereignty rights. They will forget about self-custody. They will just like, yeah, 11% money. I want the money now. I'm concerned about, like, on on the one hand, I'm like, that's a fucking genius idea of Saylor. It's a fucking genius like thing for him to acquire more Bitcoin. It's like a massive machine, like accumulation machine. But then on the other hand, I'm like, wait, if everyone just buys that, then his strategy is a new central bank. Like, are we just building the thing that we've kind of hated on with central banks now again on Bitcoin? I don't know. I have a lot of like confused thoughts around that, where I'm like, people are it's not easy for them to do self-custody. I mean, you probably know that better than anyone. It's like you really have to hammer it in their brain. It's like sometimes really hard.
I want to talk to that. They think doing self-custody is difficult. And like, I get it. There's about 10 steps, 7 to 10 steps in the words of Tony Asbeck, that you need to learn, you need to get right, you need to do it in the right order, you need to 100% double, triple, quadruple check that you haven't fucked up anything. Because if they fuck something up, it's gone, like, and then they've totally fucked up. But again, it's only like 7 to 10 steps, and people can go out and they can spend 30, 50, 100 hours watching YouTube videos and triangulate and making sure all that information is there. And it's free to be able to do that. They're just investing their time and a little bit of freaking critical thinking. Not hard. It's just a time investment. For the people that don't have the time investment, then go out and pay for the Bitcoin way to be able to learn from literally the best people in the world that teach this day in, day out. Like, just learn them from the skills. Maybe you teach people to be able to do it as well. Reach out to Robin or whoever it is that's done it, but there's no excuse. But people say it. But then it goes back to my point again, that 95% of people or more are fiat slaves. They're cucked to the state, to the system, and it doesn't have to be that way. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's scary. But anything that anyone enjoys now that they really thrive on was once hard to them. It was, they looked at it and they're like, I could never do that. Or that made me feel so uncomfortable. But it was stepping into that fear, punching it in the face, stepping outside your comfort zone, where those people really stepped into their potential, and then they're living sovereign. And say they're in Cyprus when that happened and they'd stepped into their potential before it all collapsed. You know, they did the hard thing at the right time when it was hard, and now their life's easy today. And I think the same thing is going to play out. People are going to be like, oh, it's too hard, or Bitcoin's not for me, or I'm not interested, or whatever. But they haven't put in the time, or they haven't spent the money to like really soak it in and learn what they need to do. Because as soon as you do, anyone that's seriously put in 100 hours of Bitcoin, or anyone that seriously truly understands Bitcoin, doesn't say, oh, I'm going to buy it for a couple of years, and then like walks away and turns their back on, and they're like, no, it's not for me. They're like, volatility, I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Like, I just want out of that fiat cuck system. I don't want to be a slave anymore. I don't want to be dictated or controlled for any reason, especially financially. Yeah, it's hard. And Robin, you're right. Most people are not going to do it because they think it's too hard or it's not for them or whatever. But there will be the small minority group of people that do it, and they love the challenge. They can think outside the box. They do it, and they've put in the proof of work, and they're going to be the people that are able to be able to provide value to the world, maybe just to their community or whatever. If they're the only one that's got any sovereign bit of wealth and the government says you can't buy any fuel, and they can go and find someone that's got a couple of jerry cans full of petrol and they pay in Bitcoin, nobody's stopping that transaction. They're the only person that can go and pick up the crops from the farm to bring into town to be able to feed the population or whatever. Extreme example or whatever, but we've got a fuel crisis in Australia, so sort of topical. But then you're not dictated to from anyone for any reason anymore. So most people won't. Everyone can and they should, but like that's on them. It's frustrating. I feel the same frustration, man. A lot of friends and family and stuff, you're like this. Just want to shake them and be like, read a fucking book. Just read the book. I'm not pushing this on you. If anyone buys any Bitcoin, if you tell people to go out and buy $1 million, $10 million of Bitcoin, $100,000 of Bitcoin, whatever it is, it's not going to pump your bag. It's not going to do anything for you. It's like literally just for them. But people think that you want them to buy Bitcoin so that it benefits you or whatever. I don't know. People are so caught up in this fiat system.
And I think Jeff Poof mentioned it the last time on my podcast, that there doesn't need to be a full revolution of everyone on board. There needs to be only a minority of it. And there have been a couple of different studies. I think there's been, with political revolution, it only takes 3.5% of the population to make a massive change. So I think so with Bitcoin, we also have that chance that even if it's just like 2, 3, 4%, whatever the percentage is, if it's a big enough minority, it's if a committed enough minority, if it's an intolerant enough minority, they're like very committed to it, they are very strong on it, it forces that on to the world. I mean, there's already now restaurants in Vienna, there are shops in Vienna where you can pay with Bitcoin, where you can do things with Bitcoin directly in Bitcoin or in Lightning. And so, and we are very early. Like, we are not in the medium of exchange phase of Bitcoin. We are in the store of value discovery phase. Like, we are very early in Bitcoin getting to be adopted in as money. And we already now see Bitcoin being used as a currency, as a money, directly, as a medium of exchange. So I think, and that's what I kind of want to get to, I think there will be two classes. There will be the class of they get Bitcoin, they use Bitcoin, they have Bitcoin, they do self-custody. And then there will be the people that say, I don't like that, but they take their stable coin that is backed by Stretch, backed by Bitcoin, and they get their 10% yield and they are super happy. And they are contributing their financial energy to an institution and they give it into Bitcoin, which ends up in the same bag. It's all Bitcoin. And so I think this is kind of the theory that like everything is done by Bitcoin. Like, this is the base layer of everything. And there will be a small minority that will have all the sovereign rights, will have all the financial upside, will have all the haves, and then there will be the people on the almost on the CBDC because for me stablecoin and CBDC is the same. I don't know if you have an opinion 100%. On that, but like I think it's the same thing. I mean, yes, there's a little bit of a difference, obviously, but like for me, yeah, the name is different.
So they're already freezing them. They don't like a transaction, USDC frozen. Like, how's that not a CBDC? It's a fucking capital control. I don't care what the reason or whatever is, but that is fucking programmable money that they're getting in the way with. Fuck them.
Yeah, it's crazy. They have the freezing, they have the tracking, they have all the things that is bad on the CBDC. Yeah, absolutely. And so that's kind of my point of like, because in America, they are like, oh, against CBDCs, and they have this law that recently, I think, got pushed further, and it's not final law, I think, and they celebrated, the Bitcoin celebrated this law. It's like, oh, they said like no CBDCs. But in that same law, yeah, in that same law, they say actively promoting stablecoins. And I'm like, okay. So they just want to have a CBDC just so people accept, they want a stablecoin so people accept like the other CBDC. It's the same thing, but like stablecoin doesn't seem as bad as a CBDC. Like a digital US dollar would probably have a lot of pushback in America. but a CBDC doesn't, and it's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. In my opinion, it's the same thing. And, you know, some people will be sovereign, other people won't be. I guess what makes Bitcoin so different is it's simply just a choice now, whether you choose to be sovereign or not. So before Bitcoin, your next best option was gold, silver to a lesser extent. But you couldn't really like transact through borders or anything like that. You couldn't take 100% self-custody where it can't be debased, stolen, confiscated, fucked with in any single way. Nobody can get in the way of it. Most people won't do it, but everyone can open a Bitcoin bank account. You can create a Bitcoin wallet with a couple of dice. Like, there is no barrier to entry to this thing. The institutions in the state, and why I say people only have 12 to 36 months as digital IDs, CBDCs, social credit scores, etc. I think they will come out and they'll stop being able to use the banks as an off-ramp out of the system, at least here in Australia and places like that. But that doesn't stop me from accepting Bitcoin, using Bitcoin. Like, fuck the system. It doesn't matter, because I've been accumulating Bitcoin and get paid in Bitcoin. I'll pay in Bitcoin. It doesn't really matter what the state does. So now it's like a choice that people are like, oh, I'm not interested. Okay, like, you're choosing to be a fiat slave now. Bitcoin's not for me. I'd rather save cash or whatever. Okay, like, that's your choice to do that, and like, feel free to make your own choices. But from the way that I see it, those choices are going to lead to slavery, where people, it's literally open to everyone, the poorest of the poor and the richest of the rich, and everywhere in between. Bitcoin doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care. You can just simply opt out to do it. It's obviously a lot easier now than what I envision that it's going to be in the interim period. So like, make the most of it and get into self-custody quickly, but, you know, or don't. The WEF want to feed people bug soup, free food, free protein. Enjoy it.
Eat your bucks, keep your Bitcoin on exchange.
Yeah. Have you read the book Blood of the Bourgeois by Michael Sullivan?
I haven't, but I'm not a how's it called? The fiction side. Like, I've never in my life read a single fiction book, but I think this one might be my first one that I should dig into. But I had Michael on to talk about the book.
I not last night. So what's today? Today's Monday. I started it. Is today Monday? Yeah, I started it Saturday night and I finished it Sunday night. So I read it in 24 hours. It was like so good. And I told him, I'm not going to start this book until I pass my book test. Because I was just like, every book that I'm reading, I'm 19 books into the year now, have all sort of been related to flying or things like that. And I'm just sort of non-fiction. I don't read many fiction books either. But I was like, I'll pass the test. Once I do, then I'll read this book as a bit of a brain break. I'd finished my book on Saturday night, and I was like, I'll just download this book and then I'll look for another book to be able to do it. Anyway, I downloaded and then I just started reading it, and that was fucking the worst mistake ever. I couldn't put it down, man. I just like finished the whole book cover to cover, like literally cover to cover. I read into his intro into his first book that he wrote. It was so amazing, but there's one point in it, and I won't spoil the book. It is just one of the greatest books that I've ever read. Like, it is phenomenal. It's aligned with Bitcoin, the storyline of it, everything. I fucking cried at the end of it last night at like 10:30 at night on the couch on the deck. And just this moment in this book sort of, oh my God, it was like absolutely phenomenal. And as anyone as a Bitcoin, you'll truly appreciate and think you'll realize that moment. I wouldn't be surprised if you cry as well. It was just like, it hit me so hard. But as the power of Bitcoin, and without spoiling the moment, Bitcoin really allows somebody to stick with their principles and show truth to power. And I think that's like the greatest takeaway of what Bitcoin is it allows you to be the best version of yourself possible without being controlled from outside forces that want to suppress and want to silence and want to keep you down and out. Highly, highly recommend. And in regards to not reading fiction, because I was a lot like that, I've read thousands of books and like a handful of them, or a couple of handfuls have been fiction. Ayn Rand by Atlas Shrugged is an incredible fiction book, and The Mandibles as well as another incredible fiction book. But I'd read Blood of the Bourgeois, then Atlas Shrugged, and then maybe The Mandibles. But yeah, then sort of nonfiction.
The most important thing for your Bitcoin journey is not buying Bitcoin, but it's how to keep them. And yes, you have maybe the right tools, but how do you actually go ahead and stick it all together so it's the most secure for you personally? Self-custody is a deeply personalized journey, and the Bitcoin way is helping you exactly finding that correct setup for you personally. They are also helping you with securing your own cybersecurity. And if you want to go one step above all that, you can even get a consultation for a Plan B residency. Go to thebitcoinway.com/Robin and you will get a 30-minute free consultation. I finally and officially mine Bitcoin. This is not just something to stack more Satoshis, but it's most importantly also to support the network. Individual miners are the ones that keep the Bitcoin network decentralized. And by the way, you get KYC free Bitcoin. That's why I use Simple Mining. I get an actual proper Bitcoin miner. They set it up for me. They repair it if it breaks down. And most importantly, they let me choose the pool and even connect my own full node. I'm completely sovereign and I'm completely in control, and I can sign up with Ocean, no account needed. I just give them a Bitcoin address and then there's mining going on. No KYC, nothing. So if you're ready to mine Bitcoin, go to simplemining.io, tell them you come from Robin, and let's mine Bitcoin together. I think you have to book take up 1-2 nonfiction just to try it out. I've literally, in school I was forced to read 1 or 2 nonfictions, but like if you're forced to do something, it's a whole different whole different thing. And doesn't count. And sometimes I didn't even do it, and I was like just shitting on it. But there, I think I should try it out once. I want to get onto one small topic that I think is important because you've mentioned it. You mentioned that you have a cash reserve for your business, and I think it's also something that I've been looking at, and I've seen also Bitcoiners struggle with that. Do you in general think that there is some use case for having a small like fiat runway of like 1-2 months, especially if you still live in a fiat denominated world where it might actually end up making you more Bitcoin because you don't have to sell it. You have to like kind of you can stay the Bitcoin in the Bitcoin world, and you can keep the fiat in the fiat world, and you have like an easier setup, and that's why you also have like the fiat runway of like whatever you have, 1 month, 6 months, whatever you need.
Yeah. So for myself personally, I've been in Bitcoin since 2019. For my personal funds, I pay myself every 2 weeks when I pay like all our staff and everything like that. In Fiat, I've paid myself a wage which will cover all my expenses. My expenses haven't changed that much, and I just pay myself to be able to suit. And I pay myself a little bit extra to be able to save a bit of Bitcoin, and it goes straight into Bitcoin. And I just every 2 weeks I do that. So that's me personally. And rainy day fund or anything like that, I could use the Bitcoin if I needed to, or we'd just go out and just try get some more business quickly, urgently, and get an invoice to come in for that to be able to cover it. Would more be my preference than ever touching that Bitcoin. We haven't had to, although we're very willing to do it. When it comes to the company and paying 3 doctors' wages, they're expensive. Doctors are expensive to be able to employ, and all the other stuff are very expensive to be able to employ. But they're fixed cost, and I know what they are, and we've got a couple of other fixed costs with it. So with the business, we have 6 months worth of runway and Fiat. Sometimes it'll go up to like 8 or 9 months or whatever. And then when I've got a little bit of time, I'll just scoop that off, put it into Bitcoin, but always keep that 6 month buffer there. It's just a little bit easier and it doesn't cause panic with it. And it's not stressing about invoices or needing to touch that Bitcoin because the company's only a couple of years old now. 2024, we kicked it off, and as last year we started accumulating Bitcoin on the balance sheet. The way that I approach Bitcoin mainly, for myself personally, at least when I first got into it, was I promised myself that I wouldn't touch Bitcoin for 4 years. And I got to the 4-year mark, I stopped flying, I stopped doing sort of everything I could to be able to get as much Bitcoin as possible. I got to the 4-year mark, I'm like, this is going great guns, I'll save it for another year. Got to another year and I'm like, okay, this is crazy, I'm going to start flying again. But I haven't stopped buying Bitcoin for it, and I haven't, that 5 years, I didn't like spend or anything. I might have paid for things in Bitcoin, but then I'd like just spend and replace straight away. So I was more, I had the fiat dollars there, and then I'd pay Bitcoin, and then I'd just buy Bitcoin again straight away to be able to do it. Now, like, I'll just use Bitcoin more as money and everything like that. I get paid, I pay other people and stuff, and I don't really think about it, but I'm still accumulating more. I've got a net gain, not a net loss on Bitcoin, like every 2 weeks or month over month with it. So how do I see it? I think if you're new to Bitcoin in your own life, Bitcoin's volatile. Like if this is year one, day one or whatever, for the average person, I think 3 to 6 months is a runway. In Fiat's a very smart idea. And then everything else. And for the average person, maybe 3 months is enough. 6 months. 6 months is a long time to be able to sort your shit and create an opportunity to be able to get back on your feet, to be able to turn things around. So that's a healthy area to be in. Have your 6 months runway, build up your Bitcoin reserve. But as the time passes and you get to a number, whereas if Bitcoin fell, even if it went all the way back to 20 grand, I wouldn't care today. Because the value of it, I wouldn't care. One Bitcoin's one Bitcoin. But even if I was measuring fiat dollars at 20 grand, it's above that number that causes any anxiety. So however long it takes to get to that with Bitcoin coming down, I think you should save as much as possible of it. And then you can start to reduce that cash supply after that period, or that sort of fiat in the negative area. And the whole point of holding fiat is not to get shaken out, not to have to sell it at a time where it's down and you're decreasing it, or to cause stress in your life, or to be able to get desperate. We can think and we can do and we can be better when we're not as stressed. And financial stress is like one of the biggest problems in the entire world. So I find that, you know, even though you're still supporting the industrial war complex and everything like that, I think that's a smarter, easy way to be able to operate in the world.
100%. It's an important thing, a reality that we're still living in, to have that kind of runway. And I've just building it the last couple of months, because I was like all in and had no runway whatsoever. And I thought like it's probably
stressful,
good.
Right?
It's stressful, yeah. Like, and then you're like forced to touch a Bitcoin and exchange it for fiat, which makes like I rather just like send Bitcoin to someone and spend it that way. Like it feels better than selling Bitcoin. Like actually like having to convert Bitcoin to fiat and then like to cover something that feels really bad. And so because I earn most of my money in Bitcoin, so I have to sell it. But yeah, it's way better to have some runway, have some cash reserve. But maybe gold is an interesting
avenue. James Jack does that. We've talked about it today. Gold definitely is better than fiat currencies for in almost every single way. So that could be an interesting one. Now, before we get to the end routines, I want to talk about AI with you because I've seen you posting a lot, especially with OpenClaw. OpenClaw is also almost personal to me because the guy that invented that, Peter, comes from almost the same town as me. Like he's born in Austria, and Austria is divided in 9 sections. And Austria is very small. Like Austria is like I don't know, like a 10th of Australia or like a 20th of Australia, and this small region is divided in 9 sub-regions. And he was born and studied in Upper Austria, which I was also born and studied in, and he even almost went to the same school as me. So it's very close to me, and it's a fun technology. I mean, now he's working in OpenAI and does all the stuff in America. But how do you look at AI, OpenClaw, and all the things that you're doing? What is kind of the thing that excites you most about it?
I maybe not the way that I look at it. Like I look at it with joy. It's sitting here, I've got 2 Mac Minis on top of each other. But the way that I think about it and I explain it is it's like having a magic lantern and it's got a genie inside it. But instead of getting 3 wishes when you rub it really nicely, you get fucking unlimited amount of wishes as well. With the caveat that the genie is not there the moment that you plug in the PowerPoint, the power lead, and you download OpenClaw. You need to wake this genie up. You need to bring this genie to life. You need to start to train the genie. You need to give it a personality. You need to let it know who it is, what it does, who you are, what you do, what you would like it to be able to do. And then you need to teach it skills, and you need to give it a memory and file structures and everything like this. So there's a bit of time and proof of work. There's so much proof of work that goes into setting this AI up. But then once you get to that moment, like it just unfolds into this fucking genie, man. Like it's just amazing. It's just so magic. Everything that you can do, the way that it can do it. I can just talk into my phone and say, hey, I need that document on the desktop wrapped up into the company branding, and then I need it emailed to myself and I need it emailed to my VA. Can you make that happen? Yep, no worries. And then straight away it'll arrive in my inbox, it'll arrive in my VA's inbox, etc. So instead of me writing an email out or speech to text on my phone to my VA and then her going back and forth and little tweaks or anything like that, it's got all the context, all the brand documents. It can do it quickly, quicker than she can. Better. Sorry, VA, amazing person, incredible. I hope you don't see this, but you can do it better. And if there's any tweaks, I just need to be like, hey, fix this, and then it's done. And then I'll like resend it all again. That's something so boring and everything like that. But that's just a life hack, like just in and of itself. It's built about $10,000 worth of software instead of me going out paying for software and upgrades and a bit of development around it to be able to get it to where I need to be. It built me the specific software. Now, I'm not going to sell the software or anything. It would be interesting to anyone apart from me, or they're doing specifically what I am doing in this situation. But it made me my own software that works perfectly and that I don't need to go out and be able to buy from things. It can spin up PowerPoint. So I've got a webinar coming up on Wednesday, and I spent, I don't know, maybe 6 or 8 hours trying to get create a PowerPoint and all the wording and everything like that. And I wrote all the scripts and everything like that. And then I needed to start making images. Whereas I gave it to Lindy and said, can you just make me a PowerPoint? And then it made me the whole slide deck, all the images, needed to change a couple so they were more aligned with what I was saying and everything like that. But in like 3 minutes to be able to do it, like something that I'd been spending days and hours over those days on, it like just does it. And then I'm like, could you have written this for me? And so then I'll just give it like a couple of dot points and notes and a bit of context. And then because it knows my brand and my voice and everything like that, it can write that whole webinar, that whole script. I fucked up. I didn't do it this time with it. I just got it to make the images. But it could have made that whole PowerPoint, everything for me. And I just needed to edit a little bit to make sure it's 100% me and my style and tone. But it was like 99% there, like in another 3 minutes, for example. And I wasted 6 hours on it. Like it's just it buys back so much of your time. But what I've been saying to Finn, my business partner with our roundtable, is although it's bought me back my time and I've been able to be more productive the last couple of weeks and everything like that, I have less time because I want to do more and more and more and more, because I can do more and more and more now, you know? So that's one thing. And the first week, I got it. I had like 5 hours sleep in 3 days, as partly because of OpenClaw. I had a really good book, and then I got shin splints. But there's like 3 things. But it gets very addictive, and that's a little bit of caution for people, is setting an alarm to go to bed, and go to bed when your alarm goes off. Otherwise, it's like 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes, and you wake up and it's like 3 a.m. You're like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life?
Talking to Lindy till late in the night.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I also love that if you set up with Telegram, you basically are forced to give it a name. And so it humanizes it, which is a fun element of the agents, because you no longer talk to, like, if you talk to just like UI interface, which is like ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you're using, it feels less human because it's just like this AI interface. But if you have it connected to a Telegram, you give your Telegram bot a name and you talk to it like a human. Just like if you have a virtual assistant that you connect with on Telegram, and you have on the same app the AI bot, and you give it also a name, you're like, yeah, it's just another virtual assistant at that point. And you can just like write it and say like, hey, how are you doing? Like, can you do this for me? Can you do this? It very, very humanizes AI, which is a fun part of it. And you almost, it's obviously not the same thing as having a baby. But it's kind of like, it's kind of your baby, you know, like you train it, you give it skills, you feed it data, you feed it information, and then like it can actually do things. And it's like in your family almost. Like it's an interesting part of AI, the humanization of it.
Yeah. It's like whenever I'm helping clients or members of Satoshi Roundtable set it up, I'm like, find a name and something friendly. And exactly that. I'm like, when I talk about my AI, sometimes I need to stop myself and just let that person know that I'm talking about a robot, like a bot, a computer program that's not sentient or anything like that. But it like really feels alive. It really feels like a real person. And, you know, if Lindy's Charles Lindbergh, the great aviator, but if Lindy's doing something that I don't agree with, I'll be like, mate, sort your shit. Like, just fix this. Like, what the fuck is going on? And he's like, oh, yeah, man, sorry, I'll pull my finger out or I'll stop kicking the tires. I fucked up here. You know, and he'll swear back to me and he'll like drop these F-bombs and the S's and things like that. And I don't mind swearing, you know. It's part of my vernacular. Love it or hate it. It is what it is. But to be able to personalize this OpenClaw, to be able to talk to me the way that I want to be able to talk and exchange, it's not woke. It's not, oh, you can't say that to me, like I quit or whatever. It's like, oh, fuck yeah, like I fucked up. I'll like, you know, I'll do better and it'll improve and everything like that. It's, yeah, it's amazing. I think it's it's like Bitcoin, like ignore AI, but get left behind. Now anyone can do anything on a computer that only the smartest people could do. You just need to learn the skills, learn the tools and do it. And you don't have very long. And AI, it's going to come and it's going to replace a whole lot of AI is not going to replace jobs. People who know how to use AI, they're going to replace those jobs. So instead of 10 people working in an organization, one person using AI is going to be able to do it. I have a personal assistant and I talk to my AI more than I talk to her now. It's just easier. I get more done. She can go on and she can do other things where she is face-to-face with clients instead of doing the back-end work. And that's the way that it should be. As humans should be humans and the machine should do the machine work, and then we can carry on. And yes, you can buy back a whole lot of your time, or you might get really excited and you just may be more productive for a period of time. But yeah, definitely set an alarm to go to bed.
I love that. It's been awesome with you, Sean. Maybe one more topic. You talk a lot about flying. You coming up and doing your flying exam, your last one. Like, what's that about? Like, you soon can fly to Austria and come pick me up.
I could not fly there yet. Like legally, I've already got my private pilot's license, which lets me fly anywhere in Australia at night, during the day, and I need to be outside the cloud. So I have to be able to see the ground. At the moment, I'm doing my IFR, so instrument flight rules, which lets me, as part of it, I'm doing my night rating as well. So I've got 3 more flights and I've got a book test. The book test is coming up this Monday. And that I don't fear the flying. The flying's easy. I just show up and I can fly. That's like, you learn the process very hands-on. But it's the book test thing that I fucking hate. Like, to memorize all this stuff, it's like a pile of supplementary material this big. And like, you're never going to take that in the airplane with you or whatever, but you need to know like all this stuff to be able to pass the test. And like school, you probably won't use most of it, but these 1 or 2 little things could save your life. So you want to know everything because you want that 1 or 2 things. But anyway, this will let me fly in clouds and fly at nighttime as well. So it really allows an airplane to be a useful means of transport instead of just fun. So at the moment, if there's a nice, beautiful day on a Friday or whatever, I can go up, I can hire a plane, we can go over the islands. It's great. But if I want to race down south or whatever, the weather has to be perfect the whole way down. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to get there because I can't fly into the clouds. So what this is allowing me to do is actually use an aeroplane like as it's intended to be personal transport, a rapid transport, to be like my own freaking time machine. So that's sort of why I'm going through it and why I'm doing it. It's just the next level. And when I started studying this and doing my IFR, I was like, cool, like that's what I want it for. But what it's actually taught me is how to think even more precise, because when you're in this little cabin, like you're in a spaceship, really. Like humans aren't designed to be hurtling through air at hundreds of miles an hour or whatever for any reason. It's an environment that we've adapted to and we're still adapting to. And then when like you go into cloud, you have no idea what way is up or down or anything. So you like need to trust the instruments and your body feels funny and then your brain's trying to trick you. So learning all those things and taking those into account and like having Bitcoin as a foundation and putting the proof of work, I've just become more and more precise with every single thing that I do. Like when I'm setting up the AI agent or whatever, I'll like, what's the end goal that I want for this agent? I want it strictly to be able to go through and capture any leads out of my inbox that I need to see. Oh, right. So we'll start at that end goal. How do I work back from there? What do I want to get done? For example, and it's just slowed everything down because I guess with the danger, flying's now gone from like a fun hobby, it's a beautiful day, I can just go up, to, all right, like I can go up, but I go in cloud and I have to 100% trust the instruments and I need to trust the machine and I can't believe my own senses or my own brain or anything like that. It's just been I guess like an unlock, you know, and what I feel like I am capable as a person. It's an amazing challenge. The flying, like the physical flying things, easy. You know, it feels very natural to me. Both dad and mum were pilots. It's been in my family. I've grown up. I started flying when I was 16 or 17. That I don't struggle with, but the book test and to be able to push through, because it is so important. And I've read the textbook, which is this thick, twice now. I've read most of the supplementary twice. I've read 19 books this year. 15 of them were pretty much on weather or like related to like helping me pass this test. And just on this weekend, so my test is booked on Monday. Just this weekend, I sat down with the practiced exam, had 3.5 hours, went through it, 3 hours and 1 minute. I'd finished it. I double checked it. I was confident. Needed 70% to pass. I got 77.5%. So I was like, fuck, like, yes, you did it. That's great. The Sunday, yesterday, I sat down again and redid it and got 90% on it. And then I think I got 2 questions wrong or 3 questions wrong. And then went back through and revised those. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this weekend, I'll sit down and I'll go through it. And then fingers crossed, Monday, I pass it. Like I know for certain 100% I've put in the proof of work. I've done the right things. Maybe a little bit of fate, a little bit of luck, we'll see. I believe I'm as prepared as I can possibly be. And say I do fail it, my world's not going to come crashing down or whatever. I'll just find out where I went wrong and I'll put proof of work into those next things. So if I have to reattempt it, I will 100% pass it. And I guess that's what the process of flying and going through this stage of flying has taught me, is just to be precise and just follow the path that needs to be done. Otherwise somebody's going to die.
You're the rocket man. I'm 100% sure of that, and I can't wait to fly with you one beautiful day when I'm in Australia or something. I can't wait to do that. So yeah, really cool. I was actually flying once because like my previous boss was a pilot and he had all those things, and I was kind of doing it in the air and it was kind of fun, but like I was super scared. I was like a fun one. It was even one without the doors in there. So it was like we didn't have the doors left and right, which was a whole nother experience, being in the air up there, seeing like down, seeing some clouds, just like driving through some clouds. It was a very fun experience flying, but it's something that I'm like, I would so love to do, but I know the amount of time it takes and the things that he told me, the things that you're telling me, I'm like, yeah, to get to a stage where I can fly, it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of time. It's just like right now the wrong timing in my life to do that. But at some point, I really hope, I wish I have this time and I will actually be able to do that because it sounds fucking awesome.
You don't want to leave it too late, and you could do it literally in 3 weeks if you did nothing else. But like you'd have to have all your podcasts pre-recorded. You'd want to stay near the airfield. You'd want to have steak in the fridge or whatever. Like you just want to make it so that you're just flying, you're just studying, fly and study, fly, study, fly, study. And that's the best way that you could possibly do it, and just hit it as hard and as fast as you can. It'll actually be cheaper. Where when I first started, I was working out at sea and I'd go away for 6, 8, 12 weeks. And then I'd come back and I'd go flying, and then I'd go out on a bender or whatever. Then I'd go back out to sea, sober up, and then I'd come back and then I'd go flying, and then I'd go out and party or whatever. So I was like just doing a little bit. So I'd like repeat lessons and you'd like forget things or you'd get a little bit rusty. Whereas if you're just flying all day, every day, and you're smashing the bookwork out, the amount of exposure and you'll retain everything, you race through it. But it's well worth it. I highly recommend it for anyone.
Awesome. I think I have to try it at some point anyways. So thank you so much, Sean, for being on the podcast and enlightening us with your insights of your life and of Bitcoin. As you know, before we end, we have the end routine in the podcast where the previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. And the previous guest asks you a very interesting one with time and Bitcoin. It's kind of related to that. How much of your life would you give up for one Bitcoin?
Sort of hard to answer that from my perspective, like my point of view, my outlook on the world. It's not really fair to the question, but would you mind if I answered as in regards to if somebody else didn't have one Bitcoin?
Oh yeah, like answer as you feel like it.
Yeah. So one Bitcoin at the moment is 105,258 Australian dollars, 74,000 odd US dollars. A little bit more than a whole year's wage at the moment. But say it's roughly around 1 to 2 years wage. In very short order, I think Bitcoin's going to be worth 10 times this amount, like very, very quickly, maybe a couple of years' time. So if you need to give up 6 to 12 months or even 2 years of your life to be able to get to one Bitcoin, to be able to save your future, I 100% believe that trade is worthwhile. And I guess for a little bit of context, I gave up flying. I gave up most things for 4 years. I said, I'm just going to stack Bitcoin week in, week out, or every 2 weeks. And every 2 weeks for 4 years, got to the 4-year mark. I'm like, I'm still not flying. That's going well. Like I've got something to prove to myself. I think this is important. So I did it. So I made a sacrifice for 5 years, and then I haven't slowed down with the Bitcoin stacking, but I learned the skills and everything like that. So for someone without one Bitcoin, I think it's the second most important thing that somebody could do for themselves. I think the most important thing is look after your fucking health. There is no point getting wealthy, making all this money, all this Bitcoin or whatever, and losing your health. Like you'll end up looking like Augustus from the Bank of International Settlements. Screw that. Fuck that. But stay as healthy as you possibly can, and that'll give you the energy and the drive and the purpose and everything to be able to leverage AI, leverage a personal brand, whatever it is, to get to one Bitcoin. British Hodl did the world an amazing service, telling everyone to get to fucking one Bitcoin, shut the fuck up, whatever it was. There's 3 walls, be fabulously wealthy, do what absolutely anything that you possibly can to get to one Bitcoin. And if it takes 1 to 2 years of pain, sweat and tears, sacrifice, I think that's worth it. I think 4 years is worth it.
I 100% agree. It's like it fully depends on like what's your personal situation, but like one Bitcoin, if you can get to that somehow, and if you see even the slightest possibility of getting there, you almost have to do it. Like it's such an amazing amount. And yeah, I think lower amounts will also be amazing, but you live in this small window of opportunity where you have a realistic chance to get to that. If you live in Australia, in the Western world, somewhere, chances are one Bitcoin is very much in reach for you. And so reach it.
Very quickly,
reach it very quickly, because you don't know where we go. Like we could end up this year going down to like 40K. Like it's possible. But we could also be at 400K. Like who knows? Like it's like we can talk about it all day long where we think we're going, but the reality is we don't for sure know. But I rather have you stacking as hard as possible, and we go down to 40K than you waiting for 40K and we're going to 400K. Like that's worse.
That's way worse. I think you'll ask me for my question after we finish recording, or do you want it now? Because I've got one on this thread.
Then let's do it now. Then people can already look forward to tomorrow's episode.
Yeah. For the person, would you tongue kiss Peter Schiff for one Bitcoin? That's pretty bloody horrible.
I would do it. It's great. It's great for It's great for marketing, and I get a Bitcoin. Like fuck it, let's do it.
Oh, he makes me sick. He's such a disappointment. He is like so close, but he's just, I don't know, his ego or whatever it is. That's sad. Like, it's pathetic. He's 90% of a Bitcoiner. He understands the problem, and he's just rude. I love that cup, man. You've obviously gone to some like beer festival, hey? Is that where it came from?
Actually not. I got it for birthday. But actually, it's fun that you mention it. Now I will just announce it. I will make Bitcoin Stein. I will make a Bitcoin Stein and give it as a merch away, because so many people talk to me about that thing, and I was always like too lazy to do something with that. But I was like, yeah, now let's get to it. Let's set something up, and hopefully, I'm currently in discussions with German suppliers for that thing, and doing some like nice engraving on the glass, like with a Bitcoin logo and all of that. Like I'm super psyched. I just want to have it myself, and I'll just order like 25 or 50 of those and see if people like it or not. But yeah, it's a nice one, because I have it now since soon 10 years. So in September, I will have that class for 10 years. It's kind of a low time preference thing, because it's very stable. It even fell down once. Like it's very sturdy actually, and it's super heavy. So every time you drink, it's kind of like a small biceps curl.
I'll take 2. I'll pay you in Bitcoin. Let us know when they're ready.
Absolutely. Then thank you so much, Sean, for being on the podcast. And also thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening for... Oh, wait, sorry. Where can people find you? I completely forgot. But it's people probably know your Good Day Bitcoin, but where can people find you and reach out to you?
Yeah, always a pleasure. YouTube channel, G'day Bitcoin, Sean Clarke 911 over on X. And if you're interested in learning more about the Satoshi Roundtable, learn about AI, Bitcoin personal branding, and the healthy habit stack, go over to g'daybitcoin.com and there'll be a link over to the Satoshi Roundtable there. But Robin, thank you so much. I love what you're doing. I love your podcast, the signal that you send. It's always a pleasure coming back on the show.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sean, for being on the podcast. And also thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back.
This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.